I'm so glad people came. When I booked this session, I was like, oh, it's like I'm throwing a potluck, but I'm not totally sure if people are going to come. So glad you're here. And I am so available after this session as we finish out the conference to talk about your experience of asking for more, what challenges you, what excites you, what ignites you in that space. So find me. I want to talk. I love to talk. So yes, I am Dia Bondi, and I want to start with a quick phrase that I find, you might have seen it around the internet, it's something I find very useful. It goes like this: you will be too much for some people, but guess what? Those are not your people. Yes, you will be too much for some people, those are not your people. And when I think about too much, you know, it can be this, and it can also just be whatever the too much gets nailed to, right? I love this phrase because it creates a lot of spaciousness for me, and I hope it would give that to you as well, to think about ways you can move so you find the people for whom you are not too much. A couple other phrases I really like. And actually, I'm going to go back and say, before I get into this next one, I'd like you to just take a second, turn to somebody next to you that you do not know, and share with them one thing that you are passionate about right now. It doesn't have to be work-related. You could be picking up crocheting. You could be learning a new language. You could be starting to learn horseback riding at age 50. Turn to somebody next to you and do that now. When I put my hand up in the air, you're going to come on back. Great. I hope you heard something cool. Here's what I'm really passionate about right now. I'm really passionate and super interested in helping women ask for and get more. Something I'm very curious about, something I'm enthusiastic about, and you're going to hear a little bit about my ideas around this now. And when I think about more, it started with money, but money is a metaphor, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. I love this quote from Cindy Gallup. She says, "Women, when we set out unashamedly to make an absolute goddamn fucking shit ton of money, we can fund other women, help other women, donate to other women, support other women to change everything for all of us, because money is power and social change." So it started with this seed idea of, yes, how do we do that? And in my everyday work, I work on a very one-on-one intimate basis. So this is where I'm kind of focusing it, not in terms of huge systems change, but individual change. I love this one too when it comes to asking for more, specifically money. Jen Sincero, who writes the books You Are a Badass and has a platform around You Are a Badass, she's hilarious. You should pick up her books and read them, even if just for entertainment. She says when it comes to asking for money, make sure it's something scary, something that you'd really rather not do because it's super uncomfy, something that makes you feel like you just might puke. And I love that because it's a great signal that you're probably on the right track, saying that number out loud. So who am I? I'm so many things. But what matters today is this. I am a leadership communications coach. For the last 20 years, I've had the privilege of traveling around the world, doing workshops and working one-on-one with folks, really aimed at helping leaders find the courage to speak from the heart when it matters most, give them a sense of control at the most crucial communications moments, and elevate their overall impact. I have agnostic to subject matter, so I've been the speaker coach for the Clinton Global Initiative. I worked on Rio de Janeiro's bid for 2016 games. I work in tech a fair bit. I do a lot of mentoring and coaching for startup incubators and accelerators, blah, 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 blah. I love that work. I won't leave. However, a couple years ago, you know, I'm 44 and I'm tired. So a couple of years ago, I took a self-imposed working sabbatical. I took on some clients, I took on some projects, I did some collaborations, but really low level. I dialed down on work ambition and dialed up on me time. And part of that is, for me, every 7 years or so, I kind of go through a like learning adventure craving. Like, I just want to learn something that's real weird and outside of my everyday, really outside of the edges of things for me. So I went to look at my bucket list, and on my bucket list was something that I had threatened to do years before, and that was to go to auctioneer school. So I packed my stuff, I went to St. Louis, and me and 100 cowboys worked on being an auctioneer. Literally, I stayed at a Holiday Inn on the side of Route 66 with 100 cowboys practicing auctioneering techniques. When I was done with it, I thought, what the hell am I going to do with this? That was fun. What am I going to do with it? When I came back home to the San Francisco Bay Area where I live, what I aimed at doing was fundraising auctioneering, and now I do this a handful of times a year, fundraising auctioneering for nonprofits that positively impact the lives of women and girls. So that's where I live. It's not my day job, it's my evening job. It is a paid gig because clients are better when they pay you, when they know they're on the hook for something. We all know this. But it's really nominal, and it's been an absolute blast to stand in front of a room and ask people for money directly, unapologetically, relentlessly. And I've noticed a few things. Okay, these two worlds crashed together for me last year as I was falling asleep, thinking about themes that are sort of popping up throughout the year. And what hit me was every time I work with somebody, particularly, you know, I work low bono, pro bono a lot doing communications coaching for, you got a sister who's starting a business, you got a mother who's going back out on her own, you have a girlfriend who just started a startup and she's doing her first pitch panel she's ever done, you have a girlfriend who's a new executive director of a nonprofit, she's got to get up in front of a room and ask for something. I'm like, yeah, send her my way, let's spend an hour on the phone. Thousands of these. I think in my coaching life, I've executed 5,000 coaching sessions. So here's the theme I see. We put together the story, just the outline together, right? And I'm always going to ask the question, great story. I'm going to skip this part because I don't have a lot of time. Yes, but how much? How much are you asking for? And this is the moment that I've experienced, maybe you experience. This is the moment where we don't have an answer, but what we do is a lot of advance the slide and hand wringing. This is where we go, shit. I don't know. Is it this number? Is it that number? Maybe write this number down. How about was it this? Let me see this one sounds like out loud. Let's talk to my friend, talk to my grandma, talk to my auntie, talk to anybody who will listen. Try to write it down. Write down 3 different versions. Don't send them. Look at them for a while. And then rewrite them again. And then send it and then retract it because you, thank goodness you had that setting on Google. So this is a thing. This is a thing that happens. What we end up coming up with is the number that we think we can get a yes to. Over and over again, I see this. I had a coaching session that I'm going to talk to you about a little bit later where the question was, how much? And she said, what do you think I can get? I want to challenge this. So the thing is that there is a relationship between courage and making an ask. You have to muster some amount of courage to make some amount of an ask, right? Great, so it's kind of in the gray zone right there, and maybe we land at some kind of number. Now, I said money is a metaphor. I live in the world, in my adult career life, in the 20 years of my working life, I have spent 3 of them in-house on salary somewhere. And that didn't happen until my late 30s. I have been in a hustle situation since the beginning. So I have the opportunity to talk about money 20 times a year when I send out proposals for coaching engagements, for workshops, for blah, 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 right? I live it every day. Some of you may negotiate salary one time and stay in that with incremental, predictable, increases over a time that you negotiate at one single moment. I get that. But money is a metaphor. We think about asking for more money as a great practice or a metaphor for other things we might ask for raising your hand and saying, I want to lead that project. I want to be the spokesperson. I'm going to submit to be in that conference. I want to get media trained to be a spokesperson for the organization. Lots of ways that we find, there's lots of places where we find reason to ask, okay? So I'm going to talk about money, but think about how it might be relevant to you. So we land at some number, right? Yay! This is the number that we come up with because we're like 80% sure it's going to get a yes. And that makes it possible for us to write it down, say it out loud, or send it, right? But here's the thing. What if we did this? What if we mustered a lot more courage, we asked for a much bigger ask, and we ended up at some number way out on that distant corner right there? Why don't we go there? Because out here, this is a zone I like to call the zone of freaking out. This is the zone that makes you feel like, I in fact might puke if you make me say that out loud. This is an incredible zone, but it's where the place that all the potential actually lies, doesn't it? And it's super unknown. We don't have that 80% guarantee. We maybe have like I have no idea how this will go when I push send. I know this. I've stood in this zone. Maybe you have too. Notice all the increments too between that number and that number way up here. Lots of increments in that zone of freaking out. Up here, there's a no. Up here at the maximum distance, that is a no. And we know what the potential is out there, right? That's kind of why we stay down here, because we can probably get a yes. But right below that no is a yes. And guess what that looks like? It's a good click higher than the number that we put out there, or the request that we put out there that was in pursuit of a yes. So I want you to get a yes eventually, but I want you to hit the ceiling of pursuing. It's like shifting your gaze from what can I get to like, where's the ceiling? And having the courage to ask that. Now, this is exactly what we do as auctioneers. It's exactly what we do as auctioneers. We cannot actually sell something until we hit a no, because that gives me the signal, ain't no more dollars on the table. Now, I recognize you're not in a competitive bidding situation. It's OK. That's why I'm saying use the mental model, however it works for you. But shifting my gaze to looking for that no makes sure I close that gap between what I would ask for and what I could get. So here's what I'd like you to do. I'd like you to start asking like an auctioneer. Yes, you can. And there are all kinds of frameworks and tools that we use to help us make more emboldened asks. I want you to ask until you get a no. I want you to pursue that no. And I'll talk a little bit more about how to deal with that in a second. But first, would you like to see an example of an auction moment I was doing? Would you like to see me auction? Okay, disclaimer, I'm not that great at auctioneering. I'm a real good coach, but I'm not that great at auctioneering. I'm good enough. My clients love me, I love them, we have a great time. You know, everyone comes to the party, people drop money, and we have a great time. So here, I'm going to share this with you. This is Kala Art Institute. It's a community art program in Berkeley, right around the corner from my office. I have an office in West Berkeley, actually. They do an annual fundraiser and auction. They do cool stuff. They do like artists in residence for parent artists who need to get back to their art after having babies. Hey, big snaps for that. They do community art programs. They do all kinds of stuff, art education for kids and adults. And we do a live auction. This is like the last item in the 12 lots that we sold that night. Now here's what I want. This is about a minute. I'm only going to run it once because I don't have time to run it twice. So sorry. So you're going to I want you to look for what's going on in the room and what's going on, what am I asking for? Okay, here we go. Can you run that? Oops, let's go back. 42, jump into 46, 42, 46, 42, 46, 46, 45. Are you in at 45, sir? 42, 45, looking for 46. 46, looking for 47. 46, looking for 47 here. She's in at 46, looking $4,700 here. 47, looking for 48. 47, just looking for $4,800. 48, looking for 4,900. 49, looking for 5,000. 49, looking for 5,000. He's in at 49. He's got it at 49, looking for $5,000 here. 49, looking for 5,000. He's in right now at $4,900. Are you in at 5? 5, looking for 51. 5, looking for 51. 5, are you in at $5,100 here? She's got it at 5,000. Looking for 51. She's got it at $5,000. Looking for $5,100. Yes, who is she? Go ahead and look. $5,000. $5,100. Are you out, sir? $5,000. All in right now. Sold. $5,000. You've got it. Your bidder number. Isn't that fun? I get to do that. I get to do that. Oops, sorry, my mic is going for a ride here. Okay, so what did I sell it for? What did I ask for? 51. That's right. And I knew. And what did I have to find out from him at the end before I sold it to her? I said, did you hear what I said? I said, sir, are you in or you out? Let me know so I can move on. So this is what we do. We pursue the no. And then we know we've left nothing on the table. Now, again, I'm just going to say shifting your gaze toward the no and not being so afraid of it. Knowing that when you pursue the no, you're going to be squarely in the zone of freaking out. Like, it's going to feel freaky. I don't know what to tell you about that. Like, that's why it's called the zone of freaking out. So let me talk to you about a few things that it takes for us to have a more emboldened ask. Things you can borrow from the world of auctioneering. I want to empower the ask that you might be giving with a couple of things. One idea is that people are super irrational. That gentleman I was selling that piece of art to, he was not in at 46, but he was in at 45, and then he was still in at 49. So We got to stop telling stories about why we think somebody might or might not say yes or no to us. We make up a lot of shit about why they'll never go for it, and it may or may not be true. So we got to put it on the table and find out. We got to find out. I can say, oh, you're not in at 46. Great. How about 45? Oh, really? She's in at 46. How about 47? Okay, back in. Great. So I want to find out by making the ask. I want to find out where you live. People are irrational. Let's stop telling stories. If I stood on stage and said, I wonder who's going to, maybe the one in the blue sweater might not actually bid. I'm not quite sure yet. Maybe she won't. I'm never going to ask her. Don't make eye contact with that person. Like, I would never sell a thing. So I just got to go. I got to say the words. I got to step into the Zofo. I got to say the words and go, oh, no, not that one. How about this amount? Sometimes I'll even start a brand new sales item at the minimum bid, and I get a no right there. I'll say, like, anybody in at $200? I get no hands. I go, great. How about 150? Anybody in at $100? Anybody at 20 bucks? Anybody at 20 bucks? Nope, nobody in at 20 bucks. How about 5? Oh, sold at 5. You know, I got to find out. Good. People are irrational. Also, this idea in auctioneering we use, which is called knowing your reserve. Know your reserve is like when we go into that piece of art that I auctioned off, we knew exactly what we wouldn't take for it. So I knew that if I couldn't get more than, I think it was like $2,200 bucks for it, it was coming out of the, it was not for sale anymore. I'm sorry, we are too much, you know, this isn't the right match. So we go in with a real decision, and we spend time, the board and I spend time going like, out of all these pieces, what's our minimum that we're going to say yes to? What is the minimum we're going to say yes to? And make sure that I have that as a safety for myself. Doesn't mean I'm not going to ask for more, but I know where I stand on it. And then we have a house paddle, which is basically the house can say, oh, no, it got up to 21, nobody's going to 22, the house paddle goes up, boom, I just sold it back to the house, basically. And we will save that item and resell it another time, which I'll talk a little bit more about later. So know your reserve for you, for the things you might be asking for. Know your reserve. Maybe your day rates as a freelance writer need to go from 85 bucks an hour, or your hourly rates need to go from 85 to 125. That's your goal, right? But you know that like with every single client, you do it for more than 90 until you accumulate enough clients that are at that higher rate. Then you know your own reserve, and you walk in there with that nice tool that helps you have an empowered ask. So by the way, Paper Jam Press, can't touch this. This is the number at which they can't touch you. Paper Jam Press, you can order that online yourself. I think they're $39. My friend Ariane Orland has this, and go check it out. It's fantastic. All right. Increments matter as well. So sometimes I might do $200 increments for an item. Sometimes, like, nope, I got to do $100. Maybe I'm doing 50s. Then I'm moving up to hundreds, and that doesn't work, and I go down again. Same for you. So you might make in your role at work, you might make a big, strong ask and realize, ooh, too much, too far. I got to know on that. Okay, so what's an increment just a little bit below that? Or as I think about raising my rates as a freelance UX designer, that like maybe I'm not going to go from 35 bucks an hour as an intern to some enormous in one shot, but I'm going to make some choices about increments inside the Zofo that still feel real, but incremental. Okay. Are you in or are you out? You saw me do that with that gentleman here. I said, sir, are you in? At 51, are you in or are you out? And he gave me a like, I'm out. And I was like, thank you very much for that answer. Now I can move on with my life. Are you in or are you out? Puts your voice back in the conversation and helps accelerate things so you can know and go. Are you in or are you out? Are you going to say yes to me on this or not? I sent you that request weeks ago. Are you in or are you out on it? I brought it up in last week's meeting, and I haven't heard back from you. In or you out? Are you in or out is a really fun thing to experiment with. Next time you're getting a morning coffee, not here maybe, but with people you don't know, and you're standing and waiting in line for them to work out what they're doing with the milk, you can look over their shoulder and say, hey, are you in or you out on the milk there? And see if you can accelerate it. See if you can get them to go, oh yeah. Or to go like, no, I'm done. But it puts some power back in the conversation where you're not just throwing a number out there, throwing a request out there, and then you're like at their mercy, right? So this is a great tool for us to move things forward and get the information we need about whether we're above our reserve, we have to lean on our reserve, blah, blah, blah. Here, this one's a little dicey. Oh God, I got 4 minutes. This one is a little dicey. Price is a measure of value, not your worth. This is a conversation I'd love to have with women in the room. I want to reframe this. So you're all worthy. we're all worthy. Price can be a measure of the value that the person that's buying it from you, perceives it at, not your intrinsic worth, right? So I want to uncouple that language a little bit and really think about value. That item that I sold for $5,000, great, she got to take it home. The value was not $5,000 to him, but it was to her. Coaching, sometimes I work with people at a high 2-digit per hour rate. Sometimes I'm at a high 3-digit per hour rate. So which am I worth? It just really depends on the value of the moment, the value exchange I'm having. Sometimes I'd rather work with the person at the high 2-digit rate because the value that it has in that engagement in their life and that impact is so high for me. And that dollar amount is so high for them, it's an incredible exchange. It's a great engagement. So you have to decide as well what the value is for you. Okay, your market is bigger in the room. I could take that piece that I sold at Kala Art Institute and sell it again to next year to the same event with a different mix of people, and it would get different money. So it's very easy for us to get hooked up, I think, sometimes in like this moment, this exchange is the only one in the world. And it's not. Your market is very big. So think of it as bigger. The hard part of this is it does demand that we bring a perspective of abundance a little bit. Your number is the beginning of the conversation, not the end. So you might put a number out there, you get it to a no, and then you're going to find out where their yes is. Just like I did here. 51? Oh, no? How about 5,000? Yes? Great. I could have, if I were really mean, I could have said, how about $5,050? Anybody in there? I could have. I didn't. It was enough already, right? It was OK. So the number is the beginning. So many times we get paralyzed because we think that number we push send on is like, if it's a go or no go, it's the end of the conversation. It's not. So we're gonna get the no, and then we're gonna dance with it. And purpose drives courage. If we need to muster more courage to make those stronger asks, it helps for us to understand what the purpose of the ask is. It's easy for me to ask an audience for more money because I know why I'm there doing it. I know what it's benefiting. Maybe it's for something, an impact that you want to have in the organization. Maybe you're paving the way for other people to come up behind you. Maybe you're funding something that's important to you. Maybe you're saving for a house. So if we infuse this graph with some purpose, we can push ourselves into the zone of freaking out. Last little concept, I think this is the last one in 56 seconds, that as an auctioneer, we're not selling we're not selling items we own. We're an agent for the seller, right? And this is a useful mental frame to help you get a little bit of distance from your ask while you're in the ZOFO, so you can be an agent for that number, but also an agent for your purpose. Let me tell you a quick story about my friend Jane. My friend Jane runs a nonprofit that grew accidentally. She did it as an experiment. 5 years later, she's going, I got to make this thing sustainable because the world wants it. So she called me. She said, Dia, can you spend an hour on the phone with me? I said, yeah, let's go. She said, I got a sponsorship opportunity. I need to go pitch them, and I need to ask for a amount of money. I said, great, let's put your story together, and how much are you asking for? And what did she do? Wrung the hands. She said, how much do you think I can get? I went, I don't know, Jane, throw out a number. She goes, 7,500? I went, okay, hold on. Okay. That is like we're in the gray zone. That is squarely outside of the zone of freaking out. So we negotiated a little bit. I said, okay, well, what does it need to fund? What are the actual costs of running the program? How many, we basically the $7,500 number meant that she would continue to work for free. And I was like, that's not sustainable for you. You won't be able to continue to have this impact unless you pay yourself and you can leave your chief of staff role and do this full time. So we're going to put that number in there. Guess what number we came up with? $23,000 for a single sponsorship. And she almost puked. And I was like, yes. There we are. Talked to her a couple of weeks ago. Actually, I called her. I said, remember that thing you did with the sponsorship? She said, yeah. I said, how'd it go? She goes, they said no. I said, really? How much you asked for? She goes, I asked for 35. And I was like, ooh. She said, yes, I was feeling my power when I was asking for 35. She said, but they still said no. I said, why? She said, because what I was begging them to do with my pitch and my number was for them to get really clear about their giving strategy. And they realized they didn't have one. So they couldn't say yes to me without that giving strategy. So what did she offer them in that conversation? big value, right? So it doesn't mean that she's gonna let that relationship go. It's just she also is being more careful now about who she picks to go after. When we have a fundraising auction, we're very careful to make sure that our invite list is very specific so that when we do those big numbers, we know where to play, okay? So asking big can really help you think about how you filter who you're asking. All right, I have another example that I'm going to skip because I'm out of time, but I do want to say other things can happen as a product of asking big and stepping into your Zofo. I'm going to skip Lorena the Brave. If you want to hear that story, you can come find me later. And let's see, I'm going to move past this and just land on this, which is, only when we're brave enough to explore the darkness will we discover the infinite power of our light. This quote from Brene Brown, I love this. And to me, the darkness is the Zofo. It is that zone of freaking out, and it is the place where all the potential lies. So if you, yes, you will be too much for some people, but those are not your people. If you want to stay connected to me, I would love, there is a 6-week online course to blow all these ideas out, including other ones coming up. It'll have homework and inquiries. It won't take much time. It'll be things folded into your everyday life and work practice. So that's going live as an experiment in January 7th. I would love to have you in my class. If you register as part of my sort of beta testing group, you get you'll see if you check it out, you'll see you get 40% off because I'm going to be asking you, like, did it work? Was it good? Was it valuable? What'd you get? So you'll be my beta group. And if you want to get on my mailing list, I have a small webinar that I'm sending to folks right now that are registering. So you can just take out your phone and text the word ask to 66866. And I will get that small webinar with a few of these ideas in it into your inbox in the next couple of days. Thank you so much for being with me today. I really appreciate it, and I hope to talk to you today and tomorrow. Great. Thanks, guys. Thanks, everybody.